I am Danielle Marivette Hernandez, and I have here with me Melany Hill. Say hello, Melany.
Hi, everyone. Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to
We're
meet you.
so excited to start this amazing new project together.
Yes, yes, we're here to talk Bridgerton. Specifically, we're here to talk Offer from a Gentleman, but most importantly, we're here to talk about Sophie Beckett.
That's right. We came together because we realized we'd been on a Sophie Beckett journey for years and our paths just crossed, and we decided that it was a very important moment to talk about it. And why not share it with the world and all the Sophies out there?
Yes, yes, and all the Sophies out there because we are Sophie, and that's what we're titling this, so you guys know. But also because Sophie's story has always been the most important to me when I read the Bridgerton books. Have you read all the books, by the way, or have you read a select few? Which ones?
I have read all of them, but I did start from An Offer from a Gentleman because
I think I
my
did
journey
too.
with her oddly started when a friend of mine told me, and she was like, I am reading you right now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I'm reading this book. I'm a book lover. And she was like, I cannot stop thinking about you as I'm reading it. It's a romance novel. You're gonna love it. And I was like, please do share. And I got my Offer from a Gentleman book a while ago. We're talking about 2012 or so. I'm a teenager at the time.
Yes.
And I was blown away. I connected immediately with her. So when did you read it first? Like, why first The
I think
Offer
it's
from a Gentleman?
amazing. So, I borrowed this book forever. Like, my friend and I in high school, we would swap romance novels. She's the one who got me into romance novels. Oh, bless her. And sometimes we would borrow them forever and be like, I loved this one so much. It's just in my library. So, Offer from a Gentleman is one of them. And I remember it was the year, it was very close to you. It was 2010, and I was visiting my cousin in Florida, and I was like, oh, I need a book to travel with, and I hadn't read it yet. So I was like, perfect. And I brought it with me. And then I ended up more invested in reading that book on my vacation than like the downtime on my vacation. Like, yeah, 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 you guys go sit in the sun. I need to figure out what's going to happen next. This lake scene is crazy. And yes, I resonated right away, but also I collect Cinderella stories, and hers is a Cinderella retelling. And I was like, wow, this is a very grounded and like reality-based, as far as romance novels go, reality-based Cinderella retelling. Because for me, what really stood out was that she refuses to be his mistress because it's her only boundary of protection for herself as a single woman. It's her only protection in the world. And here we are in 2024, and politics is going a little crazy, and there are some people with a very regressive mindset that want to make the world dangerous for women like that again. And I'm so pleased that her story's finally being told now. Finally.
It
Yeah,
was
so
crazy
that's
to
how it
think.
started.
Absolutely. Like it's been so many years. And back then for me, many things stood out. Now, I love how Cinderella stories are special to you. That's amazing. And she was not necessarily ever my favorite. I did have a Cinderella birthday party once, but I always related to her because I did experience the abuse of a family, a step member of my family. So I always resonated on, being pushed down by someone that is not really your family and going through all of that abuse and all of those kind of things, but still knowing that you are part of something bigger and you belong in a place that people keep telling you you do not belong.
Mm.
So it was part of that journey on top of like this thing of being like, you probably also relate to this, of being like multinational and being from two very different cultures. I myself have always had to balance, like, where do I belong? Am I over here? Am I over here? And you're never fully anywhere. And I feel she goes through that, like knowing she kind of belongs in a place, but then having to struggle to prove, how do I exactly? How do I make this my own? And I think when she like makes her way in there, she only has that what you said. You know, she may love him as much as she does, and it's incredible to find that. But then it's like, this is my only boundary. This is my only protection. This is where I prove that I actually do love myself. And that's how I prove that I am deserved of this love. And that was something incredibly to learn. And even when I went through similar things, I reread it. I was like, I need to refresh that Sophie in me that says no. And that's very important also. So I'm so excited as well to see it, after so many years, after a decade, these books started to come to life. And now it's time for an offer from a gentleman. So
Yes. Oh my God, I know. And also, so we can clarify for whomever watches this, we are actors and each separately, we're pitching ourselves as Sophie Beckett for Bridgerton for a while now.
wow,
When
like
did your Sophie journey as an actor officially begin?
so my journey began, as soon as I realized Bridgerton, was gonna be picked up, and I saw that Shondaland, nonetheless, was going to be the amazing family to bring this to life. I was like, this is gonna be different. This is gonna bring normalization in this and that. Wasn't wrong. We get Daphne's beautiful story, and we get all of these, we get the queen, we get all of these other amazing characters that are either not in the book or changed from the book. And that's when I realized, you know what? Sophie can most definitely be me. The Hispanic British people can be represented through her. My mind was not as crazy as I thought, because back in the day I was like, well, I'm not blonde, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Yeah, I
So,
was obsessed with the green eyes. I was like, in the
uh,
light, my eyes look green.
yeah, I'm like
They are
the
not.
hazel in the light, this look at a curtain sometimes. So
So
this is
cool.
when it started. And that was back when I was still at uni for theater. And I would just ask for the studio. And I was like, I'm gonna create my little Bridgerton world in the studio. And I would start practicing the scenes, and I would like came up with all the scenes from the book and started recording them. And at the time, I thought it was insane. I was like, this is not something that actors should do. Later on, I discovered that this is very, very, very much natural and important. So I'd say my pitching journey with Sophie, it started like 6 years ago. How about
That's
you?
incredible. Yes. My journey with Sophie um didn't start as soon as I feel it could have because in 2019, my friend, the same one that I borrowed Forever the book, sent me the casting when Simon was cast, and we were like, "Whoa!" Because this was before I knew Shondaland was casting them, and I was like, "Oh, they're doing a whole other thing. They're not trying to cast the book characters as they look; they're just going wild." And I wish it had occurred to me then that I could pitch myself now, but I was not in a phase where I trusted myself as an actor to pitch myself or to even like know my branding. Like now I know my branding. I'm half Disney princess, I'm half saucy wench, I'm about womanhood and magic and love. But at the time, I was like, I don't know. So after Bridgerton dropped, it's December 2020, we're all obsessed. But I've always had the dream of bringing romance novels to life, like in episodics, the way season one, specifically season one, did. And when Shondaland was doing it, I was like, oh my God, I need to get on this. And I was racking my brain. I was like, okay, who are characters that I could play? Who are characters whose vibe I match, whose energy? And then I was like, oh my God, it's Sophie. Sophie. And I got so excited. And I'm very much about signs and synchronicities. And I, it was after Christmas, but before New Year's. So that's why I'm saying December 2020. And I was in bed at night and my iPad lit up when I was like, oh my God, I could play Sophie. And someone had liked a comment where I said, Benedict's story is my favorite story. And I was like, it's a sign.
Of course.
And so, December 2020, I reached out to my coach, Valerie Hubbard of the illustrious Actors Fast Track, which taught me pitching and things like that, the business side of acting. And I was like, I know what I want to go for. Help me package some marketing materials, please, and send. And so that was sort of the beginning of my journey. And so for me, my journey was very much, very, very much about like protecting ourselves from men and predators by withholding from relationships, even though we want relationships. We just don't want all the abuse that people are conditioned into putting in their relationships. And also, like, I was pitching myself as the Puerto Rican Sophie Beckett, and Puerto Rico is neither a country nor a state. It is in that in-between place. And, we're Black, we're white, we are a mix of everything because everyone has conquered Puerto Rico at some point. So this was all in my first pitch, like the where do I belong? And this is what I want to bring in for it. And also symbolism. Symbolism is my love language. So Benedict's name means a blessing. In Spanish we say bendición. And
Absolutely.
and so like that's how I would cap it off. And Sophie's name, Sophia, it means wisdom. So I was like, this story is the wisdom of a blessing, of seeing past the mask of what we're conditioned to expect in relationships. Send, good luck to me. And that was like my first pitch.
I love that. That was a brilliant way to start. Because I started the journey before I met After Spectrum. It wasn't until like my year and a half in that I found Valerie and the Amazing People. And that's when everything started to have more shape than and shared my specific message as well. When I was like, okay, this is how you do it. This is my brand. This is how I want to put myself out there. And it was good because it's always like that point of the outsider making to the ton and changing the rules. Wherever I go, I kind of like make my way and change the vision for everyone. So I was like, maybe this is a great opportunity to do that as well, and to change what people think romance have to be, what women in a relationship look like. And I love that you brought symbolism to it because even the fact that the relationship starts in a masquerade,
Yes.
I mean, that's just a whole thing on its own, where it's like, how do we start relationships nowadays or ever? It's never just so upfront and this is who I am. Do you take me like this or not? And it's a very straightforward to put it in the story of like, we can fall in love with people with not really knowing what they're capable of. And women are put in a very terrible situation back then, but even right now, I know for a fact that my family, the women in my family, not necessarily knew that we were going to go through all that abuse at the beginning. I now know that I was not necessarily put in that situation out of like something bad, but because of like how people picture themselves at the beginning. And sometimes the journey takes you to a point where you fell in love with someone as Benedict that grows and learns from that, or you're put in a situation where you really need to get out and learn to put those boundaries that we did. So that has been like very important to me in my message when I share this too, where it's like who you are is enough and you can belong. And when are you going to learn your power to do so? And I feel I hope we get to see that on screen with Sophie because she gets this amazing story where there's so much growth, where there is so much womanhood, where you can feel what a woman is capable to do for herself and in love. So, yeah.
Oh, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about
Sure.
when the casting came through, reactions, thoughts, feelings, concerns. There were many feelings, but I'm excited. I'm excited now. And I did need my mourning period because it had been almost 4 years, like in December, like of committed action and like really going out of my comfort zone, getting contact information and being like, hello, I'm in your face. You should know who I am.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I'm so happy I have you in this journey now, that we have this
Yes. So
space.
happy we connected and that we are coming together because, as we know, there are thousands of women who are Sophie and went for the role and got in more rooms than perhaps you and I did. But we'll get there. We'll find them and they'll find us, hopefully. And this is also an exciting way to stay a part of the world while the world is being built. And we don't know what version they are telling, like what story is going to come out of it, what they'll keep, what they'll change. I'm very curious. I'm excited to talk about it.
Curious. And even just right now, I'm like so thankful after all the grieving process of what those years did brought to me. I'm beyond grateful to the Bridgerton team, to Tom Vericat, to Jess Brunel, to Kelly. I mean, I personally went through so much being out of my comfort zone and got further than I thought I could ever possible. I was like, if I'm not this, celebrity, my doors are closed forever. And they're
Right.
not. And that's amazing because then we're, one step closer to telling the stories that we really want to tell for women, Hispanic community, and just the world on its own, that resonates with us as much as we have resonated with them.
Yes. So cheers to that. I'm excited for the next
I'm so
chapter.
excited.
And thank you, everyone, whoever has tuned in. Let's do it. Let's talk Bridgerton love. Any commentary you have, we're ready to, I guess, peruse it.
So I hope you join us.
Yeah.
Welcome.
See you next time.
Bye.